Next, I wanted to discuss the National Recreational Boating Safety Survey. So we know that the boating population of the United States encompasses over 23 million boats, and that number is growing. So we do need a caveat that the Coast Guard, we're not a spy agency. We don't track every boat in the country. So we have to use a survey in order to get a best estimate of how many boats there are in the United States and how boats are being used. From the 2018 survey, we know that 84.5 Americans boat. That's a lot of people. We know that there are 13.4 million boats that aren't required to be registered. So these are your canoes, your kayaks, your stand-up paddle boards. And we know that that number is increasing as well. We're also able to estimate by state. We're also able to estimate by state how boats are being used. We think that there are over 10.1 billion person boat hours being operated in the United States. In fact, we are now conducting a survey. So you can scan this QR code, and we can even give you this poster for free if you request it. In fact, the Coast Guard's excited to announce that we are currently conducting the National Recreational Boating Safety Survey, and you can participate as well. If you scan this QR code with your form, it leads to a simple 1-minute sign up where if you're a boat owner or a renter or a borrower of an open motorboat, a kayak, a stand-up paddleboard, you can volunteer your contact information and be randomly selected for the survey. And it's being conducted throughout the year of 2026 and the first month of 2027. And we would be glad to collect your data. The data set that's going to be produced from the survey is de-identified, so it's going to be aggregated by state. We won't be able to identify you down to a person level as to where you boat. It'll be at the household level, so do know that your information is protected and it will not be released to the public. So the Coast Guard last conducted the survey in 2018, and we're usually conducted every 5 years, and we're looking to conduct it every 5 years. If you see this QR code on your screen, sign up. If you're a motorboater, if you're a PWC, canoe, john boat, sailboat, stand-up paddleboard, whatever, you are considered a boater by the United States Coast Guard, and we want you to sign up to take the survey. What happens is you sign up on this pre-selection form, and we'll randomly select you throughout the year to do the survey, asking about your boat usage from the previous month or from any month in 2026. It takes about 15 minutes. But at the end, if you provide your contact information, we'll give you a $10 gift card to a vendor of your choice. So tell your friends. I tell all my friends at every single meeting to take the survey. I carry these around in my car and tell boaters when I see them to take the survey. Do know that your data will be provided in an anonymized, de-identified data set to the public, so we will never know who you are as an individual. It is at the aggregated level by a state. So the Coast Guard has marketing materials and a press kit available. If anybody would like copies or material, please email onthewater@norc.org. Thanks again for the opportunity to talk about boating safety data, the survey, and future research. It's going to be an exciting time in boating safety in the next couple years related to data and data-driven decisions. Enjoy the rest of your IBWSS.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsey Swanson. I am with NORC. We are a research organization, and we've been contracted with the Coast Guard to conduct the National Recreational Boating Safety Survey this year. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the survey. I apologize for any of you that this is repeat, but just going to try to do a quick overview so you know about the survey. The survey actually includes 2 different surveys. One of those surveys is the exposure survey. And for the exposure survey, we're really trying to get at exposure estimates so that we can calculate risk ratios. So here we're trying to understand the number of days and hours and the people on board for boats so that we can calculate those boating exposure hours. And we're also trying to understand the number of boats that are actually owned and operated on the water. For this survey, we're going to produce estimates at both the state level and also looking at different types of boats. And the estimates will be at the household and boat levels. The exposure survey is asked of people 18 and older. For this, we're looking at boat owners and boat renters in the 50 states and the District of Columbia. For the survey, a member of the household is asked information and then, or is asked questions and then provides information on the household's boat ownership and rental activity. For the survey this year, we're actually in the field. And so every month we are sending the survey to a fresh sample of people. And they are being asked questions about their boating activities the month prior. So, for example, this month we are sending invites out asking people about their boat activity in March. And from this survey, we will have results at the state level. The second survey is the participation survey, and this survey is just really trying to get at who boats. So here we're looking at a demographic profile of boaters. We are going to generate estimates at both the household and the individual level so that we can have boating frequency information by demographic groups, and then also understand any changes in boating participation over time. We also have some questions on this survey asking about the different types of activities people do, so we'll be able to report those out by type of boat. For this survey, we're again looking at adults in the 50 states and the District of Columbia. I should say we're surveying adults, but here again, we're asking about all members of the household. So we will be gathering information about minors' boating activity, even if they're not the ones to give it to us. For this survey, we're going to be using NORC's Amerispeak panel. It's a probability-based panel where we're able to survey the same people 3 different times over the course of 2026 and then early 2027 to understand their boating activities at the end of 2026. And these results will be available at the census region level. So just some quick changes that we have had in this survey going into this year, what sets it apart from past years of data collection. So for the exposure survey, we are increasing the number of interviews by almost 50%. And this will allow us to just really dig into different groups of people and be able to have robust numbers at the state level. We're also using different sample sources. So in addition to registered boat samples that have been used in years past, as well as address-based samples, we're also collecting interviews from non-probability sample, which includes non-probability opt-in panels. But then we've also been using, and I'll talk about a little more in a little bit, gathering volunteers from different organizations. One thing that we have also changed this year is we are offering for people to be able to complete the survey on phone. We realize that some people just aren't interested in doing an online survey, and so we're providing phone to them as an option. A couple of larger things that we're doing this year. One, we are adding in a recontact survey. So for each person who completes a survey, we're asking them if they anticipate voting in the future months, and if so, which of those months. And then throughout the year, if they agree for us to recontact them, we'll be reaching out just to say, you know, you thought you were probably going to go boating in July. Were you able to? Just as a way to fine tune our estimates. And with that, we're also going to be modeling boating. So even though we're asking people about 1 month of boating experience for them, we're going to be able to use those estimates, the recontact, asking them about anticipated boating behavior for the rest of the month, and then asking them what past months they've also boated in. We're going to be able to accurately measure how many hours people spend on the water. With the participation survey, again, we are increasing interviews so that we can have more reliable and precise results, specifically at the age levels and looking at household income. Again, I mentioned that we're using the AmeriSpeak panel. The panel has a lot of benefits. For one, it helps our coverage and hard to reach populations. So it's just easier to find through the panel people without college degrees in rural areas, for example. But then it also reduces avidity bias. So we know that when we send surveys out in the mail, people who are interested in the topic are just more likely to participate in the survey. But with the AmeriSpeak panel, these panelists take surveys on a lot of different topics throughout the year. So they're just as likely to complete this survey, whether they vote or not. I also mentioned a little bit, but because we're using the panel, we're going to be able to have the same people complete the survey at 3 different times in the year. And the benefit of this is that instead of asking them a lot of questions all at once, we can ask them their voting activities that they participated in 4-month increments. And then at the end of that, for each of it, we can have a different module. So instead of asking them one time about all their voting activity for the entire year, and then 3 different groups of questions, we're able to ask just about 4 months at a time, and then one of those groups of questions each time, just reducing respondent burden. So there are a few different ways if you would like to stay involved. The easiest one is we have a press kit put together with a lot of great information. If you're interested in that, please reach out to either Jonathan Shea with the Coast Guard, or you can reach out to me and we're happy to get that to you. Also at an individual level, if you're interested in completing the survey, you can follow either this link or this QR code to our volunteer sign-up form. And we are inviting people throughout the year to complete the survey who have volunteered to this site. In terms of timeline, like I mentioned, we're in the field now. We'll be collecting data for the rest of the year. As the data come in, we are processing them. We do hope to have preliminary results at the end of the year. But lots of factors that it depends on a lot of factors, but that is our hope. And then in 2027, we'll finish data collection, in January, we'll reach out to folks asking about those last months of 2026. Then we'll be able to wrap up the data, report on it, and get all the findings to everybody. Here is my email if you have any questions or want to get in touch. And thank you, and hope you guys have a great conference.